So I was feeling a little bit too crappy to go and see the early screening of Creed 3 last week, but I finally went to the theater and checked this movie out for myself because I am a big fan of the Rocky movies and of the Creed movies, so I was very excited to see how this one turned out. It's the directorial debut of star Michael B. Jordan, returning as Adonis Creed, Apollo Creed's son, and we've got Jonathan Majors playing his childhood friend who goes to prison and comes back with a big chip on his shoulder and wants a shot at the title, and he is amazing as Dame Anderson, this really, really tortured person that has his eye on the prize and will stop at nothing to get himself a title bout. Of course, that's what happens in the movie. Now, we've got Tessa Thompson returning. We also have Phylicia Rashad returning. So there is this family dynamic that we get to see, and I enjoyed it, but I have to tell you that this movie definitely felt the absence of Ryan Coogler directing it, which made the first Creed just this exceptional experience. The first Creed film, no one expected that movie to be as great as it was, but it was wonderful. And one of the amazing things about the first Creed film was how intimate it felt, how authentic it felt, and how much it kind of brought us into the struggle and into the aspirations and the dreams of Creed, and also juxtaposed against Rocky's and older Rocky's kind of dreams and ambitions and hopes for his friend's son, you know, and I loved that. And I think that there was a nice extension of that story with Creed 2, and of course Sylvester Stallone and Rocky had a huge part in that movie, but Rocky is nowhere to be seen in Creed 3. He's mentioned, but we don't see him on screen. We don't see any FaceTime moments where he's chatting with Rocky or Sylvester Stallone, and there's some tragic stuff that happens in this movie, and Rocky doesn't appear, and it feels weird that Sylvester Stallone doesn't appear. And also, I felt like there was a lot of safety in the framing and the setup of the shots with this film as well. It feels not quite as intimate, not quite as real and authentic, tortured and ferocious as the first two Creed films did. And I don't know if it was because there were more players and more characters and more ties to the totality of the Rocky history in the previous two Creed films, and this one is just much more focused on this champ who is retiring. Adonis Creed is sort of stepping away from fighting, and we're seeing him at the top of his game, and then his buddy returns from prison, and he is envious of him, and he wants that kind of life as well. But it's much more narrow-focused in terms of who we're dealing with and who we're contending with. And I found the family stuff and the stuff outside of the ring to be a little by the numbers, you know? And I think that was what was so intriguing about Creed 1 and Creed 2, is when we weren't in the ring, it was just as electric and just as kinetic and just as fun to watch. These characters kind of dance around each other and spar with each other with emotions. And most of that stuff feels kind of samey and kind of flat, except for when Jonathan Majors is on the screen. And this is an actor, I mean, I when I see him perform, I feel like I'm watching a young Jack Nicholson. He is just absolutely incredibly present and just magnetic. You can't take your eyes off of him. He doesn't have to say a damn thing. It's the way he, scours a room and looks at people in the eye and then skits away, and he just carries the weight of the moment with him, and it's so real, he's got so much presence and so much magnetism. He's an unbelievable foil, and honestly, it feels like he would just pulverize anybody else on screen. He's that powerful, metaphorically and physically. He's just so freaking imposing. Michael B. Jordan is no slouch. He's got a lot of presence and magnetism as well, but it is amazing to see Jonathan Majors just command the screen. I mean, he's a scene stealer, and he's definitely the reason to go and see this movie. That being said, though, I mean, I am fortunate enough to have grown up with these Rocky movies, and I reflected on going to see Rocky 2 in the theater. I was a bit young for the first Rocky movie, but I saw Rocky 2 in the theater. I definitely was blown away by Clubber Lang in Rocky 3. I couldn't believe what I was watching back then, and just the propulsive quality of that heightened reality of Rocky 3 which this kind of gets to, and there's some interesting anime-influenced shots because Michael B. Jordan is famously such a huge fan of the anime universe, and it's cool that he interpreted some of these fight sequences using those styles. But I don't know, I just wasn't pulled in as much as I was in the previous two Creed movies, and reflecting on Rocky 3 and then Drago in Rocky 4 was pretty damn fun, although that was pretty cheesy. I have had so many great memories across this franchise, and Creed 3 is just, it's okay, you know? And maybe my hype was too high, maybe my expectations were too high. Certainly, Jonathan Majors delivers. I think it's a decent directorial debut for Michael B. Jordan. But I don't know, I would have liked to see a little bit more dirty framing and off-kilter angles. I just felt like it was pretty static all the way through and kind of movie of the week. And I don't mean to be insulting, it's just that we've seen much more dynamic Creed movies and better work from filmmakers in this universe. For me, I've been more engaged by previous films. I would love to hear what you think. Obviously, this is a huge blockbuster. It's a big box office success. It knocked Jonathan Majors' other big box office movie, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, out of the top spot because everybody wants to see this flick. But let me know what you think of Creed 3 in the comments below. I'm going to give Creed 3 a 7 out of 10.